So hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Yan. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I'm originally from China, moved to Toronto like 4 years ago, and now I'm just living here. And the reason why I'm here today is I'm based in North America and I'm part of MyData and I'm proud of it. So I'm still like a new member in MyData. I joined MyData in MyData Global in June this year, and very kind of lately I together with a few other folks, we started MyData Canada Hub. I'm now co-leading the work at in Canada. And initially, the reason why I got into kind of involved in MyData is because the work I'm doing with COVID. I am currently a co-chair of the COVID-19 Credentials Initiative, and probably some of you have heard of it. I participated in the COVID pandemic group like MyData had. That's how I initially got involved and realized there are a lot more beyond credentials I want to understand, where I need to understand to actually do a better work in the COVID work, in the identity or the credential space. So and I'm pretty amazed by the work MyData has been doing, and keep learning a lot from both MyData Global members and what we're doing at MyData Canada. And today, my job here is to make sure the speakers make sure the session is running well, and also like the audience, your questions got answered, and you have a good experience here. So the arrangement for the session is we have 3 speakers today, 3 demos, and each of them will have around like 15 minutes, like 10 minutes for a presentation, and 5 minutes for Q&A. And any of you have questions during the session, just please post it in the chat, because we have like a small group here. So if the speaker wants to respond in the middle of the presentation, feel free to do so. And just like the goal is we have like 15 minutes and a little bit of flexibility if there 1 or 2 minutes like left, because we do have like a little bit of flexibility here. So I think if I want to see any questions before we start with the first presentation. Okay, cool, we're good. So let's start with the first presentation by Nathan Kinch and Matthew Mytka from Greater Than Learning.
Thanks, Lucy. Really appreciate it. I know it's a very small group of us here today, so this is going to be pretty intimate. We'll probably end up responding to questions in real time. That might be the most dynamic way to make this work. If there was 10,000 people tuning in, different story. That isn't the case today. Matt, do you mind sharing your screen, and we'll just kick this off. So we don't have any slides or anything like that. We're going to start by giving a tiny little bit of context as to what Greater Than Learning is, where it came from. We will demonstrate some of the areas of the platform that we think will be really interesting to MyData members. And then hopefully we can engage in a dynamic discussion for a few minutes before we hand off. So I'm Nate. I'm joined by Matt, my co-founder. Matt and I actually met when we were working at a company called Mytka, one of the founding members of MyData. So we've been involved in MyData on and off for quite a long time. I was there right at the start in Helsinki back in 2016, which was a wonderful first year. Delivered a bunch of presentations and workshops and stuff like that. We've been in and around personal data, self-sovereign identity, etc., for about a decade. And for the most part, our work has focused on helping organizations design for the qualities of trustworthiness. And over the last 3.5, 4 years, we built quite a successful and highly impactful services business called Greater Than X. Worked with federal governments, large global corporations, really interesting research institutes like the Consumer Policy Research Center or the Kellogg School of Management's Trust Project. Our work, our models and methods, particularly on things like consent-based data sharing, have become integral to different data sharing ecosystems around the world, the most notable of which are probably open banking in the UK and the consumer data right here in Australia. One of the problems that we had in the services business was it's really hard to scale a services business meaningfully. And the work that we were doing was proving to be really effective and really valuable. And being product folks, we come from product backgrounds, we always kind of wanted to get our hands dirty again and start building a product business. When the sort of economic implications of COVID became really clear back in March, we started more intentionally focusing on building this new e-learning platform. We're sort of defining it as the world's first social learning platform and dedicated community for ethical change makers. And we'll talk through that stuff in just a moment. The general premise is that we see folks all around the world really motivated and intent to try and use their work as a force for good. And often organizational constraints, system constraints, skills gap, knowledge gap, etc., impact people's ability to do the ethical actions that they say they want to do. And our platform exists and our community exists to help folks close that ethical intent to action gap by learning new models, methods, engaging with new tools, getting hands-on and practical, socializing what they're doing, working with folks all around the world that are trying to go on a similar journey so that we can start making tomorrow better than it is today. That's the general premise. What we'll do now is we'll just show you a few areas of the platform from the onboarding process, which we think will be interesting because it's pretty distinct. It's very different to the way that most onboarding processes work today. It utilizes one of our toolkits, the Better Disclosure Toolkit, which is about designing things like terms and conditions experiences that people actually love based on HCD best practices, work from the behavioral insights literature, and combining that with traditional legal practice. We'll then show you one of our courses. We'll show you a primer to better disclosure so it makes sense. Talk about how we're building a very different type of organization that is sort of inclusively designed, that relies on principles of participatory design, that is governed in a highly participatory manner. And then we'll just wrap up with some Q&A time. Matt, I'll hand over to you. Maybe you can show us through the onboarding process super quickly.
Yeah, let's do it. That was a good little bit of background there, Nathan. So thank you. So I guess as Nathan had mentioned, this kind of sign up experience is applying all the things that we've been doing over the past several years, and particularly in the services business, supporting organizations to do, applying it to our own product, you know, kind of doing aligning to all the approaches that we advocate others do. So this first step really just kind of emphasizing leading with our values that we have, our purpose, our values, our principles. And I'm not going to spend too much time going through this. I'll quickly skim through this and just talk to a couple of points here. This one is where you traditionally, you know, and if you think to tradition, like most sign-up services, you're getting to like entering your details as quickly as possible. There's a very distinct set of metrics that drive a lot of the design of those sign-up processes. You know, we've got different metrics. We've got metrics like comprehension. How much do people comprehend our agreements that we actually present to people? And this one is focused in what we've called the relationship agreement, which I guess is an alternative to framing like terms. So in here, you'll see that like even in the choice architecture, we're optimizing for people to actually read the agreement. We want people to engage with the full agreement. People come here and they hover over it, and we're trying to nudge them in that direction. Now, we're optimizing for agency at the same time as trying to optimize for these other metrics as well, which is an important part of it. I'll just kind of quickly skim through this. So the better disclosure process, people are learning about how to do it from the outset through this sign-up experience. And as you can see, this is not your average terms and conditions. So we've applied the practices of better disclosure to this whole process. I won't spend much time actually going through all the detail here. We'll continue with the sign-up here. As the first thing that people can engage with, there's a video going through our approach to data protection. And then again, people can actually engage with the full notice if they choose, or they can basically skip and engage in what we call the agreement bypass bias, which is people using this default behavior where they're just skimming over, checking boxes. They don't read these types of agreements, be that privacy notices or terms and conditions. So again, I'll just kind of quickly go through this. As you'll see, there's a point at which we've chosen to give people the opportunity to just continue. And then they get to this where you would traditionally see, you know, enter in the details. So I'm not going to go through this process. What I'm going to do is actually just jump in and start a little bit on my profile. So we built like, we've chosen to build this on WordPress for lots of different reasons. If people have some questions related to that, please ask. So this has all the social networking capabilities in here. But what I'm going to do is just touch on some of the courses that we focus on. And let me just jump in here and go to the available courses and just jump into the one on better disclosure, just to kind of give a demonstration of this is a learning model that we have, which is really focused on getting people to apply what they're learning as fast as possible, so that they're reinforcing that in lots of different ways. So I'll just kind of continue on with this. People get to engage with some type of multimedia. In this case, it might be a video. That video is talking through something. They're going to do a reinforcement activity in a quiz, you know, in various different ways that we do that. I'm not going to do the quiz and spend some time there. They engage in then a practical activity where they're applying what they've just learned. And then they engage in an activity where they're actually going to share it. And they're going to share some type of learning or insight. It might be related to the practical activity, or it might be related to how it's relevant to their context. There's lots of different variation in how we do that. So we've got these practically focused courses that enable people to focus on things like making disclosures more open, transparent, and easy and valuable for people to engage in. Other things like data ethics, and I'll just kind of touch on some of the core learning streams that we are focusing on, and the better disclosure stuff, courageous leadership, and this one is really important. And leadership happens at different scales of the organization, within organizations. And people need things like psychological safety to be able to have discussions about things that they feel are taking place that might be done in an unethical way, or compromising people's privacy, or, you know, there's conflict between the incentives that an organization has, or people within an organization have, and the incentives that people might be engaging in. So what we also have focused on operationalizing data ethics, data trust by design, and the data trust by design work has been very relevant to things like open banking or consumer data right here in Australia, for instance. So these are some of the core focus, and we've also got the opportunity for ideally people that are working on methods, models, toolkits for ethical change. MyData is a kind of interesting example here, because MyData's got, I guess, these ways of operating ecosystems. There's protocols to approach it. So there's all these different things that the MyData community want more people to learn about. And MyData might be able to go, okay, and we have talked to Timu about this, publishing a course and making it available so people can learn more about MyData in a practical way, which is really important. So the opportunity for people focused on ethical change to be able to create courses, publish those courses, and have this community engage in them. One of the other things that I'll touch on, and I know that we're gonna run out a bit of a time, is the key decision log, and this is something that was relevant to things that were touched on in the conversation on COVID. And this is essentially like a key decision log where we actually, as part of our alignment to our values, our purpose, and our principles, we kind of log a lot of our decisions. We make them open and transparent where we've made trade-offs. And as a small organization, we're making trade-offs to try and actually get things launched and build features. So this gives the public, be that people involved in our community or any other stakeholder, the ability to actually engage in, see the types of trade-offs that we've actually made and the key decisions that have influenced like where we're at. Just before we jump into some questions, one of the things that we're really focused on is engaging in designing our platform, our organization, everything from our governance structure and how we're incentivized, designing that with our stakeholders, particularly our community members. So the focus on participatory design is really core to what we're doing, and evolving our tech stack, for instance, to go, okay, well, we want to be a MyData operator, for instance. Here's some of the choices that we're going to make in evolving our architecture. So we've got to focus on personal data sovereignty and data interoperability and portability. That whole process would go through a community engagement model where we're trying to optimize for the most socially preferable outcome that the community members and other stakeholders actually want to see happen. So that's a little bit of our platform as I guess a demo. I guess we'll open it up for any questions that anyone.
There's already one in here, mate. So I'll Johannes, I'll jump in and answer this one. So
yep.
Whether the anecdotal evidence is accurate is a different story. I think one of the challenges we have here is that organizations don't open up their behavioral event logs. So we don't really have that robust data to determine whether or not that is valid. But I think intuitively it sounds about right. There's a couple of things that are directly relevant to this. So number one, the context in which individual community members are engaging with us is very different. Because our community is still relatively small, and a lot of people that have begun actively interacting with the community, engaging in the learning content, contributing, becoming course creators, they are people who have heard about our work either directly or from some type of referring party that thinks highly of us. So the context is set up front that what we're doing is quite different. We are optimizing for different metrics. Those metrics have significant potential to hinder the effectiveness of our sign-up process based on traditional metrics, like how many people actually sign up. That was a trade-off that we made. We were unwilling to compromise on our values, even though we hypothesized there was a decent likelihood it would negatively impact sign-up numbers, which is an interesting challenge, right, for a self-funded startup. As of right now, maybe I can provide some more qualitative just insights, because there just isn't enough volume to statistically analyze and determine what impact this is really having in a meaningful way. But the key thing that's come out of the sign-up process thus far, particularly when people go through the sign-up process and they start the Better Disclosure course, is around lesson 2 or 3 in that course, we get a notification because that person goes, holy crap, this stuff that I'm now learning, I see how you were doing it. That's really awesome. I love this. I'm sharing it with my colleagues. So although we hypothesized it was going to negatively impact, at least quantifiably, some metrics that still matter to us, but are very prevalent in other organizations, it seems to have almost had, and this is somewhat intuitive, seems to have had the opposite, or heuristic rather, it seems to have had the opposite effect, in that people are more impressed that we are practicing what we preach, and they are then referring this work to other people that they think it may benefit, and that's growing our community. In 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 months, we will have much more data, and we can probably tell a different, or at least a more accurate story about that. But it's an awesome question, and it's something that we're very conscious of.
Thanks for asking that question, Johannes. Anyone else? Questions? Tammy, how many languages do you support? At the moment, 1. We do have, I guess, in scope to be able to do translations. Cautious about tapping into things like Google Translate and things like that. However, designing for inclusivity and accessibility is something that's really top of mind for us. So being able to go, okay, like the interaction with the platform, being able to have that in a different language, let's say it's German, and our course material, being able to do translations on every course in multiple languages is something that we'd like to do, and how we crowdsource that or fund it is something that's going to evolve in participation with decisions made by a community of people. So at the moment, it's just English.
Cool. Thank you, Matthew and Nathan. And, for the sake of time, we have to move on, but we have any time left, we can have, like a group discussion. Great. And in the second presentation will be from Johannes Ernst, Indie Computing. So I'm just going to give the floor to you, Johannes.
Thank you, Lucy. Is it your floor or my? Well, never mind. Here I am from California. So my name is Johannes Ernst. It's a company called Indie Computing. My demo is about a product called Ubosbox, which is actually comes as hardware rather than as well. It has software on it, but it looks like hardware, and that's sort of unusual for MyData. And before I talk to you more about the physical thing, let me talk to you about the need that our customers have. And I think you probably have the same need, which is that all of us on a daily basis, we deal with data that we consider to be reasonably confidential. It starts with family photos. Not everybody posts all of their family photos online. Where do you put your family photos? Well, it's maybe not so great to put it on somebody else's cloud. Who knows what happens to them, in particular if they have some reasonable personal stuff on it. What about confidential documents like your tax documents or your contracts or things about money? Where do you put them? How do you share them? Put them in email? Well, that sort of has put them right back into the hands of the big cloud overlords. What about your calendar? I heard from many people that, and that was a surprise to me, that people actually lie to their calendars. Why do they lie to calendars? Because there's some stuff they don't like to write in there because they don't know who's going to see that calendar. Such as, for example, instead of saying taking kids to therapist as an appointment on Wednesday morning, they might just say some arbitrary doctor's appointment because they are not certain where your data is. Same thing for other kinds of information. And so what if you could run essentially the same thing as what a cloud service like Dropbox or Google Calendar or Google Drive and all that, what if you could run this yourself on hardware that you control in your very own home? If you get the same functionality, all the data is in a place that you know exactly where it is. If you don't want anybody to have it, you unplug your device. And that's basically what we do with our Ubosbox. We currently run a software application on it called Nextcloud, which is in some places very well known, such as in Germany. It's an open source web application, which over hundreds of thousands of installations already from people who run it for a few users at home. To universities who run it for all of their students, to large cloud providers who offer it to their customers. It has thousands of contributors, and it has very much the same functionality as you would expect from the big cloud providers for these kinds of activities. It's available for self-installation, and it's available hosted. And even if you don't like my product, you should consider maybe sign up with a hosted Nextcloud service. There is many of them. They're easily findable, because if we want to take control of our data as we want the MyData world, I think one of the activities is we need to get off Google Docs and we need to get off Google Calendar and the like. So what we do with Ubosbox is we pre-install essentially your own cloud with Google-like functionality on hardware you own. Let me show this. Let's see whether this is one of the hardware products here. This is based on an Intel NUC, which is an Intel product that comes with 1 or 2 terabytes of solid state drives. And we just announced today a new hardware platform for this, which is this one right here. It's based on an octa-core, 8-core ARM processor. Comes from a company called Odroid. And we're selling this with up to 8 terabytes of disk space. So that's enough for most people. Actually more than enough for most people. And it starts at $249, and it will be this version will be available in January. The NUC version here has been available for a while, and you can order it off our website. Now, what I'd like to do, though, is spend a little bit of time and show you the software. And for that, I'm going to share my screen. Here we are. So this is when you, so it's a web application like any other web application, which means you take your browser, but instead of pointing your browser at Google, you pointing it at your own box at home, and we make that setup easy. Here's the first screen, which sort of looks like Dropbox. You have a bunch of folders in here. You have a bunch of documents. You can click on a file and you see what it is. You can here, for example, click on this rich document file, and just like in case of Google Docs, you get a rich document editor. So you can do things like, edit right here in the browser. Right, it is just like Google Docs, and in fact, it is collaborative. So if you and I and several of us are opening up the same document, we will have the cursors walk around. We can edit the same document at the same time. Personally, I think this product actually has more features in terms of document editing that Google Docs has. So I actually prefer it over it, not just for privacy reasons. Then, so the way this application works is there's a lot of plugins. They call them apps. This one is the Fuzz plugin, but you will have and we pre-install a number of them. So this is the Photos plugin, which is basically a photo gallery, which solves the problem I was talking about earlier. Where do you actually put your family photos? What about, say, your calendar? Here is so this is an example. This is not my actual calendar. This is a demo setup. But here's my calendar, and you can see we are currently right here at the Ubosbox demo, and that it has the usual functionality that you would expect for calendaring. You can there's various client-side applications, meaning that there's an iOS app and an Android app, and there's apps for various desktop operating systems that synchronize what you have there with your desktop, so you can use Word or LibreOffice or OpenOffice to edit the documents locally, and they get automatically synced with your server. The same thing with your calendar. It syncs with your calendar on your iPhone or wherever it is, so that the experience is the same. Let me give you a few other pieces of functionality here. For example, bookmarks. Many of us didn't quite know what to do when Delicious went away so many years ago. So here's an integrated bookmark manager where I have some bookmarks which I can tag. You can add new bookmarks. Or, for example, here is a task list. And as you can see, it's sort of a personal productivity platform. It goes actually beyond what Google Docs and the likes does. It's a personal productivity and team productivity platform where there's a lot of functionality that is the kind of things that you would want to deal with every day, such as task lists. Here, you can organize them in various ways as you would expect, and you can share them. And then if you prefer, for example, the deck view, as a lot of people in the software development world, then it can also show you the same content here as a deck with Trello-like cards. So one thing I forgot is you can share everything. So let me actually show you how the sharing works. Let's say I would like to share this document that I earlier edited here with you. Then I can just click on here and I can say sharing, and I can share this here with you, get a specific private URL with a particular link. And I can set particular attributes, such as, for example, add a password and an expiration date, and all sorts of good ways of interacting. And if you send that to your collaborator, then they will be pointing right back to your to the box that you own. And finally, let me show you one more thing. So there's all sorts of functionality. It would take a long time to demonstrate this, and this is only a selection of apps that we have implemented. Here is this is a new functionality, is essentially a SurveyMonkey kind of survey functionality. Here I set up a little survey. This is my view, and I could now let's see. Copy share link, put this maybe into the chat, and then you could in the chat, if you like, If the demo goes up with me, then you can go to this link and fill in the survey. So this all this functionality comes pre-installed on the hardware that we ship. It's open source, so you can also install it yourself. So our target market is the people who either don't quite have the technical ability to install something that's a web application with a database and and a Redis server and stuff like that themselves, or the people who don't really want to do this and don't want to have this whole thing have to maintain this and keep it running over the long term. And so we are selling as an appliance in various kinds of configurations, and over time, I hope that many of the functionalities that the MyData companies develop actually show up on places and hardware like this, and equivalent ways of running it in the cloud. Because if the only thing we do is we are shuffling around our personal data from one Amazon account to another Amazon account, because everything is just hosted on somebody else's cloud, I don't think we have accomplished very much. I think there has to be the option to take the data actually physically home. And that is true for individuals, that's true for families, it's true for small businesses. Such as, for example, that have confidential information, such as lawyers or accountants, or design bureaus, whoever, and just anybody who thinks that it is a good idea to have more local control over their data and the software they run against it. So that's about what I have, and I think there seem to be some questions. Let's see.
There's one or two from Matthew in the chat.
Okay, so let me start with the Upsell Considerations when managing your own repository of the digital life. So, as always, if you take responsibility for something instead of delegating to somebody else, you have more responsibilities, right? If you are renting an apartment, then you can blame a bunch of stuff on your landlord and say, landlord, fix the leaking faucet, or landlord, fix the leaking heater. If you own your own house, then you're responsible for getting these fixed yourselves. And this is very similar here. We do offer, as part of what we offer as indie computing, a remote management service called UBUS Live, where we essentially become the systems administrator for your box over the network. If you trust us. On the other hand, if you don't trust us, you probably shouldn't buy a product from us in any case. But we offer this, and this is more interesting, mostly for small businesses. The way it is installed is based on a Linux distribution called UBOS, which is why it's called the Ubosbox, that we developed specifically for self-hosting, and it does things such as configuring your firewalls and other kinds of hardening out of the box, so that there's a lot of things that can go wrong in the usual kind of little server setup that doesn't go wrong because it got figured out once, and it is guaranteed to work the same way in many other places. Of course, you do have root access. This is important to us, that if you would like to have root access to your box, you can have it. It's documented how to do that. Of course, once you do that, you are on your own, and we can't really support you very much. But that is also a good trade-off for some people, and it keeps us honest, because if our customers have the ability to cut the cord and say, yep, I want to go somewhere else, you don't have any more access to this box, then that keeps us honest in doing the right thing for our customers. And this is one of the reasons why we do it. Then there's a question about recovery for lost passwords, keys, and so forth, redundancy of physical hardware. So Ubosbox backup is one command, which means you can back up to things like an external disk, or you can do an encrypted backup into the cloud if you like. It's one command, so it's really simple. Restore is also one command, and that includes the entire software installation and configuration. So it is reasonably straightforward. Practically, it can be simpler. So yes, of course, it's always simpler to have a cloud service that is managed. So this is a product that is harder to use in some ways than the easiest to use consumer products. But there's a trade-off here. If you want more privacy and you want more control, then you have to be willing to do more on your own end. Did that answer the questions?
Yeah, that was really helpful, Johannes. Thank you.
Okay. And so let me maybe add one thing here that might be of interest. And one of the difficulties in having these kind of server class appliances in the home is things like networking setup. And as you said in a question about like root passwords and stuff, how do you do that? You don't want to ship the same password to all of the boxes we ship. And we have a little innovation here, and it's called the UBUS Staff. And I don't know how well this comes across over video, but this is a little USB device that when you get the box in the mail, you plug it into Ethernet, you plug into power, and the very first time you run it, you put the UBUS Staff into the USB port. And once it is up and running, then you take the USB, this UBUS Staff out of the USB port and put it into your PC or into your Linux box or your Mac or whatever. And on the top of the stick is an HTML file, which has a link to your box on the network. So it wrote down what your IP address is, so you don't have to go hunt for it, as you sometimes would have with other kinds of appliances. And it gives you a password that is uniquely generated for your box. And it gives you SSH keys in case you want to log in over the network that are unique for you. And so you can just take this one and then put it in a lockbox somewhere. When you have to access your box, or you've again via SSH, or you forgot what your root password was, then you can just take it back out and recover from there. One of the nice side effects of that is that it does not require you to ever plug in a keyboard or a monitor for setup, which a lot of people appreciate because they're running these kinds of devices in their basements or somewhere on the shelf or somewhere, but somewhere far away from a keyboard or a monitor. Any other questions? I should probably share the link here that if you're interested in the product, here's the website that from where where there's more product information and from where it can be ordered. And if you're a geek and you'd like to understand what's happening underneath, then here is a link for UBUS, which is the underlying Linux distro for self-hosting, which has some interesting properties and is quite unlike any other distro that we are aware of, because everything you do is one command.
I have one last question if we do have time.
Yeah, we have like 1 minute left, so go ahead.
Okay, I guess that you showed some of the like applications running on this, like a to-do list and calendar and things like that. So those applications that run on essentially this server, what are the considerations around like data standards, like interoperability, data structures, and things like that for those, so that you can use interface with other applications?
So this is a product that comes from the perspective of solve a problem for a particular set of users that they have today. And so it has whatever features that have been developed from that perspective. Nextcloud itself can federate with other Nextcloud installations, which is quite nice. So if you have one and I have one, then we can do a federated kind of sharing. It also, but it is all based on a set of large set of standards from, on the lower level, WebDAV for file sharing and synchronization. On a higher level, the Fediverse standards, so you can do, which I haven't shown, which you can do basically distributed social networking based on your Nextcloud instance. And so for some of them, standards exist, for some of them don't, but they are, for us in Nextcloud here, that is a more of a means to an end. It's not an end to itself. As there's more integration requirements that are showing up, then more standards will get implemented.
Okay, thank you, Johannes. And now let's come to the third presentation, third demo from Tammy Yan and Sherry Chong, Numbers.
Hello, I'm Tammy from Numbers. We are from Taiwan, so it's quite early now. So I will start sharing what we're currently doing by using the slides, because I think that could be more easily to explain. And then Sherry will follow to do a live demo of the app we are currently promoting. So sorry, let me put yeah, I'm trying to put a few links on the chat so that if you're interested, and you can click and check. Yeah, so I put 3 links on the chat. The first one is our website, and the second and the third are the link of the app. So currently, because it's beta version, so we only launched it in Taiwan yet. So if you location of the system is somewhere else, you probably will see a warning saying that you are not allowed to download yet. So we are going to launch it to the globally very soon. So okay. Okay, so I will start by sharing what we're doing using a few slides. Again, thank you very much. Tammy from Numbers. What we're trying to do is to create an authentic photo network. I think this is very important for us as a MyData operator, because we believe that so it's very important. The first step is to take the control of our data back and own our data. So that's pretty much everyone at MyData is currently doing. However, we would like to take one step further. Once you have the data, you control your data. The next question is, how do you prove your data? How do you prove you own the data? So how do you prove that the data is actually generated at this place, this time, and by this person? So in the current internet world, this information is actually proved by the service provider. We trust Google, therefore, if Google said you own the data, and I trust you own the data. But if it start becoming the world where everyone has our own data, we control our own data, we are responsible to our data, and that will be a different world. And at that time, we will need a little bit different infrastructure to help on that. So we actually start from the fake news problem. I guess I do not need to talk a lot about this, but there are a lot of conspiracy on the internet, and they misuse the photos and then create stories. But still, although we know it's not true, for example, like this one, they said that Obama visited Wuhan lab in 2015 and paid 3.7 million for a bad project, and that led to the COVID. Of course, this is not true. Actually, this is an NIH in Maryland, and it's even not 2015, it's 2014. The key reason why a lot of people online, they have hard time verifying the content is because when a photo is sharing online and there is no location and time information with it. So we started from this problem. And this is not just a trust problem. It actually caused $78 billion annual loss due to the fake news. So fact checking is good, but we already have 400% growth of fact checking from 2014 to 2019. It still cannot stop the misinformation. So it definitely shows that we need a little bit more materials. So that's why we try to implementing the trust infrastructure for data. And the first starting point is photo. So we create the authentic media network, and it will create the integrity certificate to prove that when, where, and how the data is created. And also it will have the human in loop community verification to help verify, cross-check whether the integrity certificate, the information in the certificate is correct or not. And then, so the first step we did is creating an app. So Sherry will share that app later because there are more than 3 billion photos uploaded to the internet every day, and 85% of them are generated from mobile phone. So starting from creating an app on mobile phone is definitely the key first step. So with the app, when you take the photo, the mobile sensor will collect the information, and then it will generate the signature and the user secure enclave to seal it. And then for the content generator, so for example, like the photo platforms, of course, the photo is generated from their platform, not from the app. So they can also use the seal and certify API we provide to generate the certificate for every photo. And then once we add all these two together, and then we will be able to create an authentic media network where the photos are certified and with a good amount of information for the readers to verify. So the left-hand side is the service. So it's OsMediaNet. So you are free to check on the internet and then see it. So it's a beta version, but every photo, as you can see, it has a certificate and a creator, capture time, and location, and those information. So we have several use cases. We start from the news media. We work with the Starling project from Stanford, and so from there we collaborate with like IBM and also the Reuters to use the authentic photo app to record what happened in 2020. And then we also collaborate with the IP, the photo platform for the IP preservation. And then, of course, we release an app for every consumer, every user. They can use it to record their life, and then they can prove the data is really owned by you. So the product, so actually you may immediately think that, well, this is an application where you collect a lot of personal information, and that's true. So it's we need to find a very good balance between the personal privacy information and also to make the data authentic. So these two ideas is kind of a little bit conflict, but we are very careful about this. While making the data authentic, we don't want to violate the user privacy, and we don't want to violate the promise we made for as the MyData operator. So we were very careful about this. So user have the will have the control of what data they want to expose. Of course, that will affect the credibility of the photo, but that's a choice of the user. And then we are also certified by OpenChain. OpenChain is by certified by OpenChain, it means that we have a good open source process, and majority of our product software is open source and transparent, and people can review it. And we are also working on the ISO 27001 for the information security. So during this year, because 2020 is a bit special, so I think this year, the question which is more important than data integrity is COVID. So in May and June this year, we collaborate with the MyData Taiwan community to create an app called MyLock. So during the COVID pandemic, there are a lot of apps generated, and many of them will help you to record the sentence, and also test results, etc. So this data from the MyData point of view, of course, we believe that it should be owned by the users and controlled by the users. But COVID is a very challenging situation that your data, you want the control of your data, but at the same time, that data, if there is a need and that data need to be trusted, otherwise it may hurt other people's life. So we use the same technology to protect the integrity of the COVID-related data. And then also, it has a dashboard, and whenever you want to share the data, the visualized data with the doctor, and then create a one-time URL, and all the data will be forgotten automatically after 72 hours. So this is the first service. It completely designed for the medical staff. So we are now moving on to the next step to collaborate with the National Taiwan University Hospital and then apply the applications to heart failure patients. So the next I'm going to share with you is the app, which is already on the App Store and the Google Play. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the core value we would like to bring to users is once you own your data, how to prove the data is generated by you, owned by you at this place, this time. So we create this Captcha app. So we with this app, user can take a photo and then can send the photo to other people because after you send, the ownership will be transferred, and then you no longer have that. So we hope that through this application, it will be easier for the general consumers to get a sense of what does that mean to prove the ownership and what it can do. So yeah, as I pasted on the chat, so this is the download link of the app. Then I will turn to Sherry to share that.
Hi, okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm now here to share the app which Tammy just introduced. It's the Captcha app. So wait a minute. So now you can see my mobile screen. Okay, so here's the Captcha app. And for the app, I can simply use the app to take picture, just like I using the app to take any picture. So I just make a photo of the computer. Okay, so here's the image. And after I took the photo, and the mobile phone will collecting the metadata of when it will record the time and the location, and also who took the picture. So you can see the notification on the top panel. Yes. So, and it will send the data to the decentralized storage, and so I will get a new unique key of the image. So now the image is generated, and when I get into the image photo, I can see the images taken by me and the location and the time span, and also a unique media ID. And if I click the view all, I can see more information about the image. It's also including that which phone I use for the photo. Like I'm using iPhone and my OS version, and also the app version of the app of the Captcha app which I used. So all the data will combine as a proof of the image. So I took the photo, and also I own the photo, and I can prove that the photo is owned by me. Also, and if I would like to share the image to my friend, like if I would like to transfer the digital asset to Tammy, then I can simply type Tammy's email here. And when I send the digital asset to Tammy, then the image is no longer owned by me because I transfer my digital asset to Tammy. Then I'll click OK. Okay, so you will see originally there is one image, one photo I just took in the screen, but now it's disappeared because I sent my digital asset to the Tammy. So I can see in the activity page. So you'll see there is in progress because my digital essay is waiting for Tammy to accept. And if my friend sent me a digital essay, then I can also accept the digital essay that he transferred to me in the in this Captcha app, and I can see in the post Captcha tag. Then here's all the photo that my friend using Captcha to take the photo, and he sent the image to me. So if I click the view all button, then I can see the unique ID of the image and also the timestamp and the location, and I will know that the image is original, is truly taken by my friend at the specific time and specific location. Yeah, that's the demo, single demo of our app.
There are a few questions in the chat. You probably want to respond.
Yes. So the hashes are currently on the public blockchain. Actually, so we will let the user to choose which chain they would like to store their information on. So for example, like we have the collaboration with IBM Hyperledger, Hedera, and also the IOTA, and we will soon add a support for Founder Core and Ethereum. So yeah, that's the answer for the first one. And then, yeah, we have a good partnership with HTC Exodus. Actually, the founder of HTC Exodus is also the angel investor of our team. So yeah, we do leverage the Zionic framework they built, which is to use the hardware signature to sign the data and provide the additional security layer. And the last one, yeah, so the decentralized storage. So actually, we at the meantime, we have not yet allowed the users who use the phone app to upload the data to the decentralized storage. So now we use the centralized storage, but user have the control of fully control of those data. We do have a plan to add the support of IPFS, and we also have a very good relationship with the Filecoin team. But this is a new technology, and our goal is to provide the services for every consumer. So we are also very careful about using the new technology. I think we are waiting for the good moment when it is ready to be adopted by the majority, and we will offer this option to the users. Yeah.
Thank you, Sherry and Tam. You were already a little bit over time, so I'm going to keep it brief and to wrap it up. And thank you very much, and thank you again, like the speakers and from 3 demos, and of course our audience for joining us today. And if you guys want to leave your contact information, just like last few minutes, just please feel free to throw information there. And yeah, I think that's it for today. And if you haven't submitted your presentations through the MyData link, please do so. And tomorrow at the same time, I will be hosting a kind of same session, like a demo session tomorrow. So if you want to join tomorrow, if you're based in North America where your time zone fits, please come tomorrow. Thank you again, everyone. Hope you have a good day, good evening, or good night.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for moderating.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to open my video. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.